Enostavno LAJF, or better to say, the simple life. And this time is, well, once more a time for the bonus episode, which is held in English. I asked my dear friend, a very good friend of mine, Leaman, for a podcast, and we have talked about nutrition, training, personal trainers, how to evolve, how to change the business models right now in the COVID times, and how to adapt to online coaching. He is definitely one of the best that you should probably listen to on all those fields and adapt as soon as possible. So I invite you kindly to listen to the podcast with Leaman. I have Leaman sitting here with me from Muscle Nerds over in Australia. How are you doing, pal?
I'm good. It's a beautiful day in Australia. It's nice and sunny outside. Life could be worse.
It could be. I mean, you could be sitting here over in the snow and in the cold, which you're not, obviously. So I am, and I'm jealous right now. I'm really jealous. And I have to tell you one thing straight ahead. The only thing that I really do regret for not doing in 2020 was being in Australia on February.
Yep. Should have done it. Should have come to the wedding.
I know. If I would know that there would be a lockdown, I would definitely be there, because Yasmina was telling me, should we really not go? Because it was financially not the best time, because we've invested in the gym expansion and everything.
Yeah.
But damn, I would postpone the gym extension and be there. Really.
Now you don't know when it's going to happen now. Who knows? Jeez, if ever. Oh my God. What a mess.
It will. I mean, even if it's undercover, I'll be there. I'll be there somehow. I will work on a ship to get to Australia to see you guys.
We'll get you some, we'll get you some fake credentials, and you can be like one of the top European virologists in the world. And then you just put on your heavy accent and they won't ask any questions. Just flash a badge and you're good.
That's true. Okay. We'll try this. I call you from the prison then.
Yeah.
When they get me.
One thing that you guys taught me whenever I visited you in Slovenia, you always know a guy. It's like, can you get me a SIM card? I know a guy. What about a cell phone? I know a guy. So I know you know a guy who can get you these things that you need.
Most probably, if I dig really deep, probably I could find someone. Okay. So since I have you here, there's a lot we can talk about regarding fitness, training, nutrition, everything. Because you're like how would I say? You're like Google on two legs regarding those things, which is good. So for those of you who don't know who Leaman is, what would you tell them?
I would tell him he's a maniac. He's a maniac.
I confirm.
Man, I'm just a big meathead who loves science and nutritional fitness, or nutritional education and science and all that good stuff. I love bashing around weights, and ultimately I've always wanted to know how these things work and why. Like when you're getting strong, how does that work? What actually happens? And if we understand that stuff, how do I manipulate that to get even stronger, faster, while staying healthy and injury free? How do if I eat a certain food, why does that act like that in the body? So that's kind of the thing I've always wondered is, when I was coming up in the industry, I was doing all of these seminars and people were telling you what to do. Like, if you want to get strong, do this. If you want to get big muscles, do this. If you want to get lean, do this. But then I was always like, yeah, but why? And no one was ever telling me why this stuff worked and how it actually works at the cellular level. And so I just went on a rampage of trying to figure out all this stuff and trying to blend what I see in the gym with what they say in textbooks and what they say in research, and trying to blend, anecdotal experience with, how the science actually works in your body. Like I guess I'm just a big meathead nerd.
Yeah. I can confirm that. But still, we've had so much good time while learning this stuff. I mean, it's not only the theory from the books that you were learning, but it's a practical part, the experience that you get. Isn't this something that we've all strive for?
Yeah, it is. I think, you have two different camps in the industry. You have one camp who got a university degree, but they've never spent a lot of time under the bar. Like they've never competed. They've never really put all this stuff and tried to figure it out without their education. And then you have all the meatheads who did all the under the bar work and the gym stuff, but they don't really have a formal background. And so, I think, I never got a university degree. I just learned everything, through mentorships and asking people questions and finding the right people and reading a lot and watching lots of videos and trying to put it all together over the last 20 years. And so I think it kind of gives you an edge. If you can start from a young age. I started lifting when I was around 8 years old, and not just lifting like normal people. I was lifting like competitively at 8. And then when I was 14, I got the internet, and I just wanted to know everything about how the body works. So I just started studying, and I never stopped. And I think you've got to have both of that. You have to have that bro science portion, and then you have to have the real science, and you have to figure out what's bullshit and what's not bullshit between those two camps, and try to stay in the middle of everything and put these ideas together by yourself.
That's true. So when was it the time when you did personal training yourself?
Mm-hmm.
When did you start with this?
I'll be 43 next month. And I started personal training when I was 19. So that was 1997 or so. So yeah, so it's been, I started when it was hard to find education. Like it was just, you just basically had to learn from other people and like do apprenticeships and find the right people to learn from. And then when I was 14, we got the internet. So that was 1992. So that's when I actually was able to get more exposure to people that I would never be able to meet in real life, at least not yet, that I met later in life. But that kind of opened up my eyes to all this other stuff that was going on.
When was it that you met Charles Poliquinom?
I met Charles. I started looking at his stuff probably when I was 12 or 13 with Muscle Media, when it was a magazine. And then with Muscle Media or testosterone.net before it was T Nation, right? And so that was a long time ago. It was back in the late 90s that they came out. And so I started studying all of his stuff, and I said, okay, one day I want to meet this guy, because what he says with strength and conditioning makes sense. Every time I do something that he says, magic happens. So in 2007, I had finally gotten the opportunity to go and learn from him. And then I was hooked immediately. So from 2007 to about 2010, I took every course I could from him. And then I was eventually asked to come on as an assistant teacher. And I did a lot of teaching in North America and Canada and in the United States. And then around 2013, they asked me to come back, but they wanted me to be full time. And I had to move to Rhode Island. I didn't want to move, so I said no. And then a few months later, I finally said, you know what, screw it. You only live once. I'm just going to do it. So I packed all my shit up and I flew to Rhode Island and worked for them for a couple of years, and then decided to leave the company. So
I know when that happened.
Yeah. And part of it was my decision. Most of it was their decision, but there was a lot of in-house fighting. My morals and my ethics and the way things should be done did not line up with what theirs did. So there was a lot of headbutting and arguing and meetings, and I just did not get along with what their company was about when I actually saw what they were about. Being a student of them, you see one thing. Working for them, you see a completely different behind the scenes look. And so I was pretty much at that point on my way out, and they just kind of sped that up one day. So
I know this was the beginning of your muscle nerd story, wasn't it?
It is.
It was in 2016.
2000, September 11th, probably the worst time to let an employee go on 9/11, 2015. That's when I left. Yeah. So,
oh my God,
that's pretty crazy.
I remember the time, because after this, you came for a visit with Zoe to Slovenia, and you were staying with us for 2 weeks. I miss those times.
I do too.
I mean,
I don't miss the motorcycle time. That was. Dude,
oh my God!
You guys tried to kill me. You tried to kill me.
No. It was your fault, actually. No. It was your fault, because we did ask you, do you have the driving license for a motorcycle? And you said, yes, I do. And then, have you rode one? Yes, I did. But you didn't tell us what kind of a bike it was. So I took...
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let's go back. In Texas, we have a lot of long, straight roads. Very easy to ride a motorcycle. We don't have mountains, the mountains of Slovenia and Austria, with 200-meter drops and S turns. And I remember telling you, don't get me a powerful bike. Just get me like a 650, just a small bike. And you show up with a touring bike, with 1,100 touring bike.
1,200.
Sorry, and brand new. And I'd never ridden a bike that tall, and I'd never leaned a bike that tall over as much as you need to lean it to get around one of those turns. I thought I was going to die. It was a great trip, man. That was such a great trip.
It was. And we figured out about the half trip through, we figured, oh my God, I believe she never rode one like this.
Not like that, no. That's why I requested a shorter, smaller bike. But hey, I never laid the bike over. I didn't wreck the bike, and I didn't die.
You didn't. You're still here with us, which is a good thing.
I remember when we got to the top and we went swimming at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is beautiful. What a great day. And I went, oh my God, I still have to get back down the mountain. I'm going to die.
But I have to say that it was a long time after this. Well, I believe I didn't laugh so hard after this. I didn't. I mean, seeing you, because I was driving first behind you. What the fuck is he doing right now? You know, it was nice.
I was not dying. That's what I was doing. And you guys, I was like, hey, just go. If you guys want to go, you race, just go. I've got my phone. I'll find my way home. Just don't even worry about it.
Oh my God. I believe Zoe was writing me over Facebook, please do not kill him. He has to come back. Which was, I don't know what you wrote to her, that she texted me this way, but you know, it should be pretty scary. I'm sure of it.
I probably called you guys some names that you'd never seen in American language, some really bad cuss words that you might not be familiar with. That's probably what I was doing.
I remember the first time you visited Slovenia, it was for your birthday. It was February, and you were turning 37. It was 6 years ago. Oh my God. Wasn't it? We've prepared a small surprise party for you in the gym. It was late in the evening with cake and everything. I remember that Sandy, which was my former business partner, asked me, can you get some steaks? Steaks? What for? You know, it's a birthday present because he'll have steaks. He's from Texas, damn. I remember driving around and calling a friend up who was a restaurant owner, and he packed me a bunch of steaks for you. So this was a birthday present. By the way, are you still into steaks?
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean,
yeah. If I don't eat at least one steak a week, I would die. It's there's this, I don't know if you know this, there's a special genetic polymorphism that only Texans have. It's called the TXS gene. And if I don't have steak at least once a week, I will actually die. It's a weird phenomenon.
I've heard of it. We have it in Slovenia as well. Me and my brother definitely have it. So this is it. I got my steaks for today's lunch in the fridge. So
nice, excellent.
Yeah. This will be something. Okay, let's get back to nutrition. So
wait. Well, speaking about nutrition, you forgot my favorite Slovenian dessert.
Oh my God, this will be one of the podcasts where I have to explicit language. I have to just make a mark there.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the fuck you. It's a dessert. I gotta find my shirt. I gotta find the shirt you guys made for me.
Yeah. When you were leaving, so the thing, what we've done, we've took you out for dinner into a Serbian restaurant. With cevapcic and everything, and you said, "Okay, what's for dessert?" And you were reading down the menu. What's this? To fuck you? I said, yes. So, and you ordered it. So we got to fuck you. It's a good
Delicious.
one. We've made you a t-shirt. So when you got on a plane, you had the t-shirt on because you've done a selfie and sent it to us over.
Yeah, of course I had the shirt on.
Oh my God. Silly times. I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss it.
Good
It was crazy. But it was a good kind of crazy. So that's a good thing. See, that's nutrition learning right now. Right here.
Of course. Yeah.
Desserts.
It's flexible dining.
Yeah.
You can definitely fit to fuck you in your flexible diet.
Anytime. If you don't know what it is, guys, if you're listening to this, just Google it. But it's written a bit different. So it's TUFAHIJA. So
yes,
that's it. Google it and you see what it is. Okay. So back to the muscle nerd story.
Yes.
So I remember when this all started, and you've told me about muscle nerds, and you showed me the first outline of the logo. And you told, see, this is muscle nerds. I said, what is it? What is muscle nerds today? Or is it still exactly the same what you've planned out in 2015? Or did it change?
No, it's 100% the same. It's and it always will be. Now it's expanded quite a bit. So when I was at the old company, it was, I was hired to be an educator to teach. But then what it actually turned out to be was I was teaching people how to sell supplements. And that's not what I signed up for. I signed up to get people better at coaching, and so they could help people, they could build really good careers. And it just grated me the wrong way. So I said, okay, we're going to redo this, but do it the right way. And we're going to build a community like it used to be before they moved to that kind of model. And so we wanted to build a tribe and a community of like-minded people and like a real kind of fraternity of coaches that would help each other, bounce ideas off each other, and be able to express ideas and develop new ideas in the industry. And so kind of when we decided to do this, I took a big wide stance view of the industry, and I said, okay, what have I been teaching over the last 10 years? I've been teaching how to train pro athletes. To trainers who don't train pro athletes, they train normal people. They train general population. They train their next door neighbors, their mothers, their fathers, their brothers, their sisters. Why are we teaching people how to train Olympic athletes when they don't actually train Olympic athletes? And I said, you know what? We're going to start by prioritizing how to train normal people, how to look at dysfunction in the body, how to fix things like lower back and hip issues because they're sitting at a desk all day, and neck issues and shoulder issues, while also getting them to lose weight and feel better. Not just feel better physically, but feel better mentally and feel better about themselves and want to improve their life, right? And I realized too, when I first got my certifications in that company, I would go back and I would start doing all this crazy athletic testing with all my clients. I trained athletes, but they were mostly high school baseball players, football, volleyball. But I was using this with like 45-year-old soccer moms, and we're doing like 1 rep max bench presses and muscle fiber tests. And
Why did you do that?
Because that's what I was taught to do. That's the way we did it. And then I realized after a few months of that, this is not really appropriate for the demographic I'm training. And then when I was teaching, I would ask the class, how many of you actually train athletes? And maybe 1 or 2 people would raise their hands. And I go, why are we teaching this? Why aren't we teaching them practical solutions for Gen Pop problems? So we started with that. So nobody was really teaching this stuff. So I decided we're going to teach about stress, and we're going to teach about the mitochondria and how that screws you up. And we're going to teach about trauma, and we're going to teach about, how to do things practically, not just optimally, and how to fit, all these methods that that we're using to train Olympic athletes. How do I modify these so that normal people can do them and actually find use out of them? And then, so we started doing that. So we started teaching nutritional foundations course, gut stuff. We started talking about stress, and no one was really teaching really simplified biochemistry. So I started teaching that. In order to understand nutrition, you have to understand biochemistry and understand what happens when the food gets in your body. So we started teaching that, and we found that people loved it. It's very complicated stuff, but it can be simplified into a way that makes you understand that every time you give a client instruction, there's going to be a consequence. So you want to make sure the consequence is positive, not negative. Then we started teaching exercise metabolism, doing different things in biochemistry. And we found a lot of coaches really love this stuff. So we've been doing that for the last 6 years. And so now we're kind of branching off, and now I'm going back into sports specific stuff. So I'm going to start teaching programming for mixed martial arts and American football and soccer, all this stuff that I would have taught back then. I'm going to start teaching again. But because we've already solidified the Gen Pop stuff, because that's the most important thing. Not 90-something% of the industry is general population. There's no reason to if you want to train athletes, you're telling me you want to be broke your whole life and you don't really want to have a great career.
Exactly. I believe that, most of the guys or girls that get into personal training, they're dreaming about the celebrities, about the professional athletes and everything. And then you get to the real life experience and see, okay, I'm not getting to them, because most of them training in clubs with the club trainers and so on and so on. Or, in Slovenia, it's a bit different because we do not have the big facilities, the club facilities, like, the football, the NFL football clubs in the US, for example. But still, it's a different story. You won't train so many athletes in your career, but you will definitely help Doris along the road, lose some weight and feel better. Yeah. And they just don't get it until they're in the business for 5 years with no money, with nothing, because they have a wrong focus. Yeah. So this is something that you definitely did solve with muscle nerds, which is amazing. I love it. So I just I took the course because I wanted to see how you've done it, and you've done it really good. I love it. So this is something that I can really recommend all of those that did not know muscle nerds until now. This is the time, because the courses that you do online are, compared to the live ones in person, it's way cheaper. Yeah, it is. And it's the same amount of content, but it's a better price, right? And you're able to teach a lot more because you're not answering questions. There's no break. So like the nutrition one that you did is over 8 hours, and it's 447 or 497. I can't remember what it is, for something Australian, which means it's pretty much 50 cents anywhere else, because our money isn't worth anything over here. So. I believe it was around 300, a bit less than 300 euros. So it's a reasonable amount of money. And yes, you should definitely get it if you're in personal training. This is worth the spending. I remember years ago, you wrote something about the mistake a personal trainer new personal trainers are making right now. So they get into marketing and, into sales training and so on before they get the knowledge, so the expertise in the fields of training and nutrition. And this is wrong. I'm using this Facebook post that you've put out. It was in 2016, maybe in 2017. And this is a whole slide dedicated to it in my presentations when I do the personal training certifications, because I said, look, this is the reality. So has this changed on the market, or do you see still personal trainers, just going into marketing and sales training before they get the expertise, so the professional expertise?
No, it's become a pretty big epidemic in the industry where, our market's getting super saturated. Like Phil Lerney said it a while back. The market's saturated, but it's not competitive, right? You have all of these, basically a lot of blind leading the blind, and people think that going into the training is easy money. I just get to stand around and count reps and, look at my phone and do it. It's not about that. If you want to build a career and make money and do really well, you're going to have to pay attention, and you're going to have to keep learning. You're going to have to learn the rest of your life to stay on the top. So the most important thing you need to do is get good at your craft. The second most important thing is the marketing and sales. And what we tell our students is if you get undeniably good, if you get so good that no one can ever say anything about it, you don't have to market or sell. We barely ever do any paid ads or marketing selling. We've built our business on reputation and word of mouth. So if you can prove that you can get results and you can get them fast and safely, you will have to turn people away. You won't have to market that much. But marketing and sales is still important. Building content is still important, but it's more important that you can actually prove that you have the results. Because if you don't, you're going to have an endless, all you're doing is lead farming, because you're just waiting for somebody to get frustrated with not getting progress and they're going to leave. And now you got to bring somebody else on. And that creates more work and expense for you to constantly try to get new clients, when realistically you should be working on getting clients and keeping them long term, right? It's way better to keep one client than to try to lead farm for 10 new ones.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
And I think that's, yeah. And it's just like any other thing. If your car broke down and it needed like a really major overhaul, like the engine needed to be pulled out and like everything redone, you wouldn't go to some guy who just kind of liked to work on cars a little bit and maybe he knows how to change the oil. You wouldn't want him working on your car. But that's like all of these trainers, they know how to work out, but they don't know how to coach it. They don't know how to train. They don't know anatomy. They don't know functional anatomy. They don't know biomechanics. They don't know physiology, but they're training people. And you can utilize training to progress people in a positive manner, or you can really mess people up long-term if you don't know what you're doing.
This is something that we've trying to get across. I mean, doing the personal training certifications, I believe 100% that you should be aware where you're going to when you choose your certification, because the certification, okay, we've talked about before getting on the podcast. There are standards out there that we have to stick to it, and so on and so on. And then some of the standards are, old, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be there in place anymore, but they still are. So this is still there. But what we can do is, teach differently, teach a better way of doing it, and give them the knowledge that they need from day one to be able to work properly. And no one is doing it, or at least not a lot of the certifications out there are doing it. This is the reason why I'm not so into the online certification model for, the basics, because you need to have some hands-on experience as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's like if you look at what's being offered, a lot of the certifications and courses out there, it's advanced hypertrophy training, advanced nutrition, advanced fat loss. None of the people going to those courses need anything advanced, and your clients don't need advanced either. What you need to do is build a really good platform of fundamental, foundational, basic training, basic concepts, and then you layer on the advanced stuff once you have all that locked in. But a lot of people bypass that, because if I say basic, they think easy. If I say basic, they think, well, it must not be as good as advanced. But I'm telling you right now, your neighbor, Susie Muffin Top, does not need advanced drop set training with bands and chains on an upside down Bocey ball. What she needs to do is learn how to move correctly and learn big basic movements, and then earn the right to move to more advanced stuff. It's like, if two countries were going to war and they could talk it out, you'd probably want to talk it out. They wouldn't go straight to bombing each other with nuclear bombs. So you'd probably rather negotiate and have, small battles than have big battles that destroy your entire country. And so what happens is people in the training industry decide, well, I'm just going to hit all of my clients with a nuclear bomb instead of starting out really small and building them up.
Mm-hmm. And this is plain wrong. It shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
You must master the basics first, the foundations, and then you go on from there. The problem is, I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now as well. So I've started out when I was 16. I had my first clients. It was back then in martial arts, but later on, I just got into fitness and stayed in there. And something that I figured out is, in almost 20 years of clients, and I've dealt with over 2,500 clients right now, there was not even 5% of them that needed my advanced knowledge, except from the professional and Olympic athletes that I trained. This was it, right? So
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I think back of most of my clients, except for the high level athletes, did not need anything advanced. They didn't need to overcomplicate things. A lot of them just needed to get the reps in and slow progressive overload, and make sure that things were technically correct. And if things weren't looking good, we needed to fix what wasn't looking good before they loaded it more. Like, that's going to get you a long way.
It's the same with nutrition, isn't it? I mean, the basics, if you can, it was back in 2014, I was attending a seminar from Martin Rooney. Martin is a fantastic guy, fantastic speaker as well. And he said, if you cannot bring your clients to eat broccoli, how can you teach them any advanced stuff?
Mm.
So the metaphor was, stick to the basics first, get them to eat right before you go over to supplements and everything.
Yeah.
So what's your opinion on that? Because you've told that you were thought, to sell supplements a lot.
Yeah. I mean, so my deal with supplements is, well, you got to look at optimal versus practical. So if I have a young guy come to me and say, hey, I went to the supplement store and this massive bodybuilder told me I need Mass Blaster 5000 and like this methyl creatine burner, whatever. I'm like, okay, how much protein are you eating a day? Okay. Are you eating it in, 3 or 4 meals a day? How much fat are you eating? How much fiber are you eating? How much vegetable are you eating? If they're like, I don't eat veggies. Okay. You probably should do that first. But you might want to take a multivitamin to fill in some gaps. Like, I don't have a problem putting people on a good multivitamin, multimineral right off the start. And even if they're eating lots of veggies, I'll still have somebody on a multivitamin if I can. If they're not eating enough fish or seafood, I'll put them on a little bit of omega-3s to round that out. I might give them a little creatine. And if they probably put somebody in a digestive aid, and that's where I pretty much draw the line, unless there's a very specific reason why we need to increase anything else, like systemic inflammation or more intense gut issues, or if they've got joint issues or brain issues, then we might get a little bit fancier. But if you can't do it with proper nutrition, rest, a good training program, and a multivitamin, something's wrong with what you're doing. Adding more pills is never going to be the solution.
True. I was always, so while teaching, I tried to, to spread the word about, there are some supplements that you can prescribe, not prescribe, but give to your clients without any hesitation. So this is multivitamins, probably probiotics today. Protein, if they cannot eat enough with normal food. Yeah. And I would go probably for greens as well. Occasionally.
For Grace, hold on. My dog is freaking out.
I see.
So let me shut this door. She's figured out how to open the door.
I know how that is. We got a new dog. You saw the pictures.
Yeah, so
crazy times at home.
Okay, where were we? You said vitamin, probiotic, blah, blah. What was the last thing you said?
Greens for someone that is not eating veggies or anything, not fruit, not vegetables. Would you do something like that?
Yeah, I would. And I'll tell you the reason why I like the greens. I never want the greens to be a substitute for vegetables, but also if you're taking a multivitamin, most multivitamins are going to be synthetically made. And when I mean by synthetic, they're going to make them off the back of bacteria and yeast cultures. So it's not like you don't have Beaker off the Muppets, like pouring liquids into a thing and the lab blowing up and then they've got a vitamin B. You're making this from organic matter. But the thing is, when you synthesize it that way, you're missing all the phytochemicals that actually make the vitamins work correctly. So if they're not eating the veggies, then yeah, it's probably a good idea to take a greens or red supplement or even both in order to get, there's like 8,000 chemicals that we don't even know what they do. And a lot of them, they don't even have names for yet. And they don't know why they're actually in the plant. They just know that it makes the vitamins work better. So in a lot of cases, just taking a vitamin is probably not going to be prevalent. You want to take the vitamin in with the phytochemicals by eating more plant matter. Like I like people to be plant-based and then add meat, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I tell a lot of clients, unless we're putting them on a carnivore-ish style diet for gut reasons or maybe autoimmune, we'll typically tell people if you're not willing to eat the veggies, you don't deserve the meat, because you need to have both of those.
Yeah, always. What would be the one thing, not a one, you can choose how many you want to. What can trainers do? Because it's the COVID-19 times. We know what this means. It's a bit messy. So there's more time left than in the normal days when we were working whole days. So what would you recommend for personal trainers to do in this particular time right now? How can they adapt or get better? How can they get better?
I mean, the easiest thing to do right now, it's easy to get really lazy and slack when you have off time like this, but this is the perfect opportunity to upskill. So this is a perfect opportunity to learn some of the things that are going to be integral to what you do. So, get textbooks, get Dummies Guide to, or like Biochemistry for Dummies, Anatomy for Dummies. Start learning the stuff now while you have the time, and start experimenting with yourself. One of the things I see that a lot of trainers are weak at, and we saw this in the first part of COVID, because we have a long format program design course that we do. And it was amazing to me that when the epidemic hit and all the people that were online training or converting their in-person people to online, they didn't know what to do if they didn't have a barbell or a dumbbell. And they were freaking out. They're like, I don't know what to do. My client can't overhead press. I'm like, okay, make them do pike presses. What's a pike press? Oh my God, how do you not know what a pike press is? Do push-ups, do this, learn mechanical leverages for different types of calisthenics and gymnastics training. So that's one of the things, like, learn how to move your body, because ultimately that's what our bodies are designed to do. We're not designed to lift weights. There's nothing natural about that. We're designed to move our weights around objects, not the other way around. So this is a perfect time to do things like gymnasticbodies.com and look at some of their programs, gold medal bodies, animal flow, stuff that your clients would never do in the gym and stuff you would never program for them unless you were forced to. It's a perfect time to brush up on your anatomy. Pick a body part, pick the shoulder, pick the scapula and the glenohumeral joint. Learn everything you can about all the muscles and how they act on each other and how that affects your arm, your hand, your wrist, your fingers, how it affects your neck, how it affects your hip, and just start working from there. And you'd be surprised that if you just spent all these months in lockdown learning, watch YouTube videos, put the pieces together, do our courses, do your courses, do everybody's, do whatever you can, and just consume as much information and then try to put it together so that when you go back to training, it's going to give you a different frame of reference on what you're doing and how to design a more effective program where you can solve people's problems. Because that's really what it is. When you get to that elite level of personal training, it's not about counting reps anymore and babysitting clients. I'm here to solve your problems. You have neck pain, back pain. You're maybe a little bit overweight, got a little bit too much stored energy on your body. You're fatigued. You don't sleep well. You can't take a solid poo. Cool. I spent all this time in my lockdown figuring out how to fix these problems. And now, instead of just trying to get people to look good naked, you're actually fixing the real problems, right? So it's a great time to go on a learning spree.
And this is all about it, what personal training should be. So improving people's lives. This is something that we would normally do. So this is it. Well, I don't want to take too much time away from you today for the podcast, and we have another meeting to go on. So I would kindly invite you for another podcast in the future, in the next couple of weeks, and we can expand on how to solve the problems for the general populace, the problems that you just mentioned.
Yeah. Here's an idea that I'll leave everybody with, because I heard a very wealthy person say this, and they said, look, people that get wealthy because they can solve a problem that someone else can't solve. So if you want to build a really good career, if you want to build wealth and financial security as a personal trainer, you have a couple of different things you can do. Number one, become a very good problem solver. If you can solve problems that no one else can, you won't have to worry about your business anymore. The second one is diversify what you do. Don't try to get rich off this industry. Start learning. This is another thing you can do in the lockdown. Start learning about investing and saving money and budgeting and going into the stock market and some of the new things like Bitcoin. Start learning that stuff too, because if you really want to build financial security and wealth, it's like if you do it in this industry, it's like the NFL. There's very few percent of the population that are actually going to become wealthy doing this. You use this as a vehicle to get into other things like real estate, investing, mutual funds, that type of thing. So start thinking about things like that, not just about this, and then start learning how to spread all of your investments all over the place, so that even when COVID things happen like this, you still have a lot of eggs in a lot of different baskets, and you don't have to worry about, well, if the personal training doesn't work out for a while, I have a lot of safety nets and I don't have to worry too much about it.
True. Thank you for the time, Luke. And I'm looking forward for the next podcast on this. This will be a bonus episode on my podcast, which is called The Simple Life. It's not connected to the Hiltons. I'll tell you this. So it's not Paris Hilton doing it, but still. And we go on for the next meeting. Thank you so much for being here.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
To je bil Enostavno LAJF za tokrat. Meni in Fitovarni lahko sledite tudi na Instagramu in Facebooku, da boste vedno up to date. Vesel bom vaše ocene na iTunes in hvaležen za vsak feedback. Pošljite nam vaše ideje za goste, s katerimi naj govorim, ali teme, ki vas zanimajo. Kadarkoli mi lahko pišete na ales@fitovarna.com. Hvala za vaš čas in uživajte v življenju, hkrati ne pozabite na aktivnost in dobro hrano. Čau!